Hello everyone. In this lecture we're going to be going over just interactive command prompts, IDEs, integrated development environments, what they are, what are different practices for running Python code, and we'll get a quick introduction on why we decided to choose Jupyter Notebook for this course in general, and what other options are out there. In future lectures we'll get a deeper dive into Jupyter Notebooks in general, but for now I just want to show you a couple things. So you might be wondering, how do I actually run Python code? We saw a little bit earlier with the IDE, with the IDLE that comes in with Python, or IDLE it's sometimes known as. Let's go ahead and try that again. So here I'm on Windows. What I'm going to do is type in Anaconda command prompt. If you're using a Mac, you can just use the terminal for this. So if you're on Mac, just go ahead and open up the terminal. Now, most users are on Windows, so I'm going to say Anaconda command prompt, open up my command prompt, and here what I'm going to say is Python. And if I type out Python, what happens is I'm actually running Python within this command prompt, or within the terminal. And now I can put in Python commands, so I can say print hello world. I can do 2 plus 5, it'll return 7. Now I can actually interact with Python and work with Python. If I want to quit, I just say QUIT, open and close parentheses, enter, and now I'm back in my terminal line. So if I try to say print hello world now without calling Python, you'll notice I get an error. That's because I'm not actually running Python. I'm just exploring the command prompt or the terminal on my computer right now. I'm not actually running Python. So what are our options for running Python code? I'll go through a couple of options and different ways to run Python code in general, and then I'll settle at the end on the Jupyter Notebook and discuss it a little bit further. So what's a way we can run Python code? Well, the first way is what we just did, right? I can type in Python and I can run Python code this way. So I can say 4 plus 5, etc. And I know you guys don't know any Python yet, but don't worry. Hopefully these are simple enough commands that you can see what's going on. Now, you can imagine if I have some really long code, I don't want to have to type it in here line by line. So what would I do then? Well, I could get a text editor. So any text editor would do. Right now I'm just using a simple notepad. And I can type in print hello world, and what I'm going to do now is file, save as, and I'm going to save it as first underscore program dot py, and I'm going to save it in the same directory that was showing up here in Python. So I have C users, my username, Anaconda. Okay, so that's where I'm going to save it. So let me find that location. OSC, scroll down to users, my username, go to Anaconda, and I'm going to save it right here. And notice I'm going to save it under all files type, so it takes the .py. And this is actually now going to be a Python code. So I can come back here. I'm going to quit the Python instance that's running. Notice now I'm back on just normal command prompt. And then I can type Python space, and then I can actually say first underscore program.py. And if I hit enter, you'll notice I can put hello world out there. So this is how I could theoretically run larger programs. I could type it all, if I knew the syntax, into this text file. So I'm going to print some more stuff here just so you realize it's actually working. File save. And then if I press up on my arrow key to get that code again, just that statement of Python space first underscore program.py, and I hit enter, you'll notice now it's running everything I put into the text file. So this is one of the most basic ways to write a .py file and have Python run it. you go to your command prompt or your terminal if you're a Mac user, say Python space, make sure you're in the location. So here I'm at C users, my username Anaconda. You have to be at the correct location for this to work. Say Python and then whatever that .py file is, and it will automatically run it for you. So you might be thinking, this looks kind of ugly. I don't really want to use Notepad all the time. So what are better options? And this is where your options were really spread out and you have a ton of them. So I'm going to go over a few of them and then end up on the one we'll use for this course. So one option is just to use a nicer text editor. So some text editors that are really common are Sublime Text. So Sublime Text is a free text editor, and it'll actually highlight, and you can see some videos going on here, highlight code syntax and help you out a lot in that fashion. It has a lot of features and is one of the most common text editors used. Another common text editor is Notepad++. So here I've just Google searched Notepad++. It's another common text editor, and depending on how you save your file, so if I save a file as .py, it'll actually do highlighting. So you can see here there's some highlighting based on what the syntax is. So that's one version. Just get a nicer text editor. Then there are other integrated development environments, IDEs, that are specifically for Python. Some of them include Wingware, Python IDE. So it's an intelligent development environment for Python programmers. Another one is Komodo. So Komodo is actually more of a text editor that just like Sublime and Notepad that you can also use. There's PyCharm, which is another Python specific IDE. And then there's Spider, which if you're coming in maybe from a language such as MATLAB, Spider will feel like a really familiar environment feel to you, and it's based heavily on scientific computing. And then another one, which is a little different, is Jupyter. And this is the one we're going to be running our course in. So if you go to jupyter.org, remember we've already installed Jupyter through Conda install Jupyter or Conda update Jupyter. I'm going to go ahead and scroll down and say try it in your browser, and I encourage you to do the same thing. So this is what Jupyter looks like when you run it in browser or run it in your own notebook. And you can click here, top right. I'm going to zoom in a bit so you can see better. And future lectures, you'll notice Jupyter, it's way more zoomed in, so I apologize if you couldn't see. But what's nice about the Jupyter Notebook is it supports other languages such as R, Julia, Bash, Haskell, Scala, Ruby. So if you ever decide to work in other languages, Jupyter Notebook's really nice in that way. Here I'm going to create a new notebook using Python 2. So I clicked New there. And you'll notice what's really nice about this that I think makes it ideal for teaching Python and learning Python is if I say, you'll notice I have a little cell here in. If I say print hello world and then click run, so run cell, you'll notice the output is actually put right below that cell. So you have an input and then an output directly. This is a really nice system if you're just starting to learn Python because you can directly interact and see what code comes out when you have code in. It's also really nice because it's really easy to share these notebooks. I can name these notebooks, so I can name this first program, save it, upload it to the internet, share it. You'll notice there's going to be Jupyter notebooks for every single lecture in this course. And this makes it an ideal environment for learning Python. It's a lot nicer, it's a lot more direct. You can download the notebooks that I've made for you, and that's why we're going to be using it for this course. Now, will Jupyter scale to much larger programs? No, it won't. So if you begin to want to go into full stack web development with Python, you'll eventually have to abandon Jupyter notebooks and go for something a little more heavy duty, such as PyCharm or other text editors. What is Jupyter really good for? Jupyter is really good for, like I said before, learning and teaching Python. It's also been extremely popular in the field of data science. So there's a lot of features that Jupyter has that we'll talk about in the next lecture that allows you to really take into account a lot of the new data science modules and libraries for Python, and that's personally why I really like it and use it. And it's really common just for ad hoc analysis and quick data analysis in the data science field with Python. So that's where you'll see it used in a more professional state. It's also really nice just to make games with it. Again, if you're making a more heavy-duty game, you'll eventually abandon Jupyter. But for right now, for this course, it's the ideal learning environment, and I think you'll really learn to love Jupyter, and you're going to be a big fan of it by the end of this course. Okay, so I've talked a lot about Jupyter, but haven't said much of how it actually works, how you can run it on your own computer. So let's go ahead and go to the next lecture where we can learn about Jupyter, which were previously known as IPython notebooks, just to let you know. And let's learn more about how we can make Jupyter run on our own computer and how they work there and the various features of it. Okay, thanks, and I will see you at the next lecture.